Gonna get back right into it here. We're gonna get this kicked off here, and brand new video. Something I kind of see ahead. I'm really good at stuff like that, so just want to give you guys the juice, so that way you can make the best choices and decisions that you can for yourself. With that being said, let's hop right into Bitcoin here. Currently, we are at 118,267. It is Saturn Day, so happy Saturn! Happy Saturn Day. Um, we really don't want to see a lot of market movement for Bitcoin, especially on the weekends, because it will create CME gaps. So glad to see it's just kind of floating around here, kind of ranging. From a weekly perspective, we do have the Bollinger Bands expanding to the upside. Um, but something I do want to make everyone clear and aware of, we actually do have a total lunar eclipse coming September 7th. So, as you guys know, 45 days before, 45 days after, which is going to lead us, roughly, into that new moon on July 24th, which is going to be Thor's Day, Jupiter Day, Thursday, expansion, cool. Um, Pretty happy about what I'm seeing right here, but we also have to be realistic and we have to keep our emotions in check in order to capitalize off of all this stuff, right? So right now, Bitcoin's looking good. We got a new all-time high, blah, 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 blah. This coming week for Bitcoin, I do believe could be extremely good. We do have an upper level here of 127, 128, if we really wanted to, we can check this, come back down, or, we can come up a little above, and that's okay. But it wouldn't surprise me to see a market correction from there. Even to come back down, check all this stuff as support around 108,000 range. Even maybe dip down into here to 103 would be extremely bullish, because it's going to still respect that market structure. Probably see some wicks down in here, maybe. But if we start, seeing some bodies around 108, 112, 110, we start seeing candle body closes there. I think that's going to be really good for the overall market structure of this chart. Because remember, kind of same thing back here. If you guys remember, last total lunar eclipse, I was talking about, as long as we keep our structural highs and lows above 70K, we'll be good, and we did just that. We never even, broke the integrity of the market structure there. So that's good news, right? We are seeing, Ethereum kind of get into a mode right here where we, we're trying to break above, right? But let's be real, guys. We are at heavy resistance. If you look left, we're at heavy resistance. And this is from a weekly perspective. We're literally, banging right up against weekly resistance here. We still have some resistance compete here at 39.83. Which is fine, which is also the 886 on the fib. So to have resistance in this range is totally normal and to be expected. Ethereum's currently sitting at 35.61, which is perfectly good. That's great to see. We get a weekly close here. It'll be about roughly right here. The candle will close. So that's great. That we'd be above that, but we also still have this range to compete here. Even if we manage you know, during this week to maybe wick up to here, I'd be good because it would literally set a higher high. And then from there, we could correct, or maybe we could go sideways, right? Either way is fine. But something also to keep in mind too, we do have a spider line right here at 48.96, which could also come up all the way to 5,000. So maybe Ethereum could do some serious jamming this week. Maybe hit the spider line, hit the one line to test previous all time highs, and then correct from there. I would like to see that. To be honest, that would be pretty bullish because we haven't tested previous all time highs this entire cycle. So that would be great. But again, you know, we just kind of call this stuff as we see it on the charts. Um, so yeah, so that's Bitcoin and Ethereum, guys. I'm actually going to go over some value. I'm going to go over a value play that I personally see here. Um, it's not like right now or what have you, but stuff we got to really start paying attention to, especially that we know that this lunar eclipse is going to be coming in as well. But we got Dash here. Dash is, starting to look good. We got a green dot on the weekly chart. Um, let's kind of zoom in a little bit and look. We got, if we close here, that'd be good. We're going to have an 8 and 21 cross next week. The longest that I really see these moves playing out is around August 7th or 8th at the absolute latest. Obviously, all charts are going to be a little bit different, right? So just keep that in mind, guys. My window of opportunity is going to be from that new moon, July 24th, all the way to 7th, 8th of August. But really, I'll be looking right around the 4th and things like that. So keep that in mind, especially if we start the month green in August. That'll be a tall tale sign too, that we would definitely could potentially higher probability of ending this market in the red for the month of August. So definitely keep these things in mind. Definitely do not want to play games because, this last moves of the market, back in the last total lunar eclipse in March, I told you guys mid-February, hey, give you a warning. And yeah, well, you guys seen what happened from that, you know. You guys seen what happened. We can uh, go back and just look. Some altcoins got more affected than others, right? Um, but beginning of February, January, all that stuff was already red. But even just from that total lunar mid-February, we had a spike up, right? So we'll just go from there, right? And mind you, this is a weekly chart, so also keep that in mind. That's a 55% correction, you know. And look, make no mistakes, that was, the first week, first 7 days of April, we hit a bottom there, right? Boom, see a nice little market up in May, and boom, back down for a double bottom. Now we're doing this again. So, that's just one asset. Just one. Just one. But as we started feeling that energy right here too, as you can see, beginning of February there. Whoops. RSR took a 67% hit. Ouch, right? That hurt. So, these total lunar eclipses are nothing to play with by any stretch. You know, we're also going to go over well because just got some requests from my group. Want me to go over well? Well, we're seeing a nice got nice weekly candles here. Also, green dot came in. You know, last week. First 7 days of July there. Bollinger Bands are going up, but guys, also remember this next week is going to be really important for well because we're going to get an 8 and 21 cross. So you see how that's about to cross on next week? That's very important. So keep your eyes on that. Could we break above this 50 on the weekly? Absolutely. We're in fact right now we're actually above it, but as we get that weekly close, if we do close there, could be very interesting. Some key levels to watch because it broke below this trend line here, this pattern. We could bearishly retest this pattern, which would also be the short term 786 around 6.1, almost 6.2 pennies. You know, 6.6 pennies. This little range right here would be a range to really watch. And then look, you also got resistance in this range as well. So let's go ahead and, whoops, I'm going to kind of mark out this range. I'm doing all this stuff for you guys right live right now. So, you know, um, this range right here, which also is where things get sniped out, guys. So definitely watch. We have overhead resistance here in this range. If you see this come up in here, I would definitely heavily think about taking some profit off the table. Just my personal opinion, but you don't have to listen, right? Um, let's go down to 3 day charts, right? Still looking good. Got a green dot on the 3 day. Got some overhead resistance here on the 3 day chart at about 4.2, almost 4.3. Once we can break through that, again, we're free and clear to rock up into this range here. So keep that in mind. That's my analysis for well right now. You also have to remember as well that they are dumping I think it's 100 million coins on the market a month right now until March. So again, another key thing to really pay attention to. Let's see. I'm going to go down to some other value plays here. We got Carnomaly. We're going to go back to our weekly chart, though. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this thing's swinging wild, right? On the weekly, but we don't have a close above um, the 8 yet. But if we did close here this week, which we're gonna know on Sunday. And for the private group, I'll post some pictures in the chat there after we close. Literally, we're gonna be closing right there, and we got some resistance here, but we can totally get through it. Might take a week or two to really start rocking and rolling, but it could just break through there as well. So also keep that in mind. Some levels I'd really be paying attention to are this 0.0148, 0.00198. Really be pay attention in this range. Maybe even could potentially even get up here 0.00252 before we send it down, maybe get a little correction, maybe get a double bottom in this range. But this is a macro double bottom, as you can see right here. So at the end of the day, very bullish, on macro. till we get a nice move to the upside. We're going to talk about CXT. CXT obviously back here broke the trend line. We're on a weekly chart, but we are above the 8. So, we're cooking. We're cooking with gas here. We get a weekly close here. This will be our first weekly close above the 8. And, it's going to be trying to work its way back up to the 21, which is about 3.8 pennies, which I think can easily happen. I'm actually going to erase this because this is just a short-term thing, because we already found our bottom there. But, again, I'd keep an eye out for the next couple of weeks. It's totally up to you guys. Never financial advice, of course, but definitely pay attention, guys, because, we could come up here, break a little above, hit that hard resistance here, or even hit it, in this range because we have a little more resistance here, and we can just boom roll over, and come back down here for a double bottom, which wouldn't be surprising. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. And then strategy for me personally, I'll be starting to look in October for some nice bottoms, maybe even beforehand. And yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. I'm excited. These are the times to really be excited in the markets and stuff like that when you start to see things going up, but you also see what's going to happen here in the not so distant future. It wouldn't surprise me to come see, back end of all this stuff, lunar eclipse and everything, to them to come out and start cutting rates either. And then we can really kick this baby off, right? Yeah, we totally could. So same thing here with Lumia. You know, we're getting, a higher close here than the previous week, which the close is officially going to happen next or Sunday. So that's going to be ultra bullish if we get a higher candle close here. And then same thing, it's going to be working its way up. In a couple weeks, it's going to try to do an 8 and 21 cross. See if it gets it though. Doesn't have to. Definitely does not have to. So that's pretty much what we got on Lumia. I mean, even if you want to take it down to the 3-day here, you know, this is great. 3-day, tomorrow, this thing should, in the next couple of days, should really start rocking. But we do have some resistance here. Obviously, if you look left, not only with the MA, but price action here, we do have some resistance, but we can totally break through it. It's going to take a little bit of effort here. But again, next couple of weeks, maybe we do hit this 51 cents, which wouldn't be surprising. I mean, really, honestly, we can even hit 69 cents, which would be fine too. And then, but right now, I'm really just focused on this 51 cent target. Maybe we roll over there, come back down for, a nice double bottom here, which is fine. So, that'll be, and that would equate to roughly what we would expect. That's 60% correction. So, macro lows. Yeah, we could say macro lows are in. So, that's also another thing as well. Um, Dia, probably be looking at the same thing, Um, let's look at it from a weekly perspective first, though, shall we? Weekly perspective, I mean, really, this could have been it right here for Dia. But it was just a wick, It was just a wick. We smashed the 200. Maybe we'll start getting some candle body closes up here. But, overall, macro low could totally be in. Let's just do a quick little thing here. Uh, 45. Well, last one was like a 55% correction. So maybe, just maybe we can come up here and nick this 74-cent target first, which would be really awesome. Not gonna lie, if we could do that first, I would be thoroughly excited about that. If we come up here, clip this, because this would also be, a higher high, right? For a micro term here. Let's see what we'd be looking at. Yeah, so I would line up right here with this trend line and also line up right here with another double bottom and a higher low, technically, like a double bottom, higher low scenario. Um, so yeah, I would love to capitalize on that move. It would make complete sense to do so. So be aware. We also have the MAs flattening out too, which also is a very, very bullish signal. So things are looking good, guys. It's not all doom and gloom, but MA's flattening out on the 3-day too. Hey, that's pretty amazing. We also got the 8-day and the 50-day crossing. So that could be ultra bullish, ultra bullish. And then next thing you know, we're gonna have the 8-day trying to work its way up to the 200 and the 100 here. So yeah, we got to put in some work, guys. We can totally get to the 74-cent target, which I'm totally cool with. I would be more than fine with that. I know a lot of people like a lot of these other coins as well, which we'll get into. Do want to get into Corium. Corium, we're cooking on a 3-day, but let's start with our weekly. Weekly, it's in the position as most altcoins, right? We're above V8. We're trying to work our way to that 21. Okay. Which actually, right now, if we did close above the 21 this week, we just need to go just a teeny bit more and close, right around 14.7, 14.8, 14.9. If we close there, it's going to be a really bullish confirmation on the weekly chart, and we can get rocking here. Our last wick high here, 1776. Could we come up here to 21? Sure, we totally could. But we got a 3.82 fib here at 24.69. We could totally see that too. So yeah, we don't have a whole lot of data for this chart, unfortunately, but something that we could see. We could totally see this, which would make sense if we got clipped between 21 and 25 cents. Why? Because there's heavy resistance here. And it's not that much resistance, but it's enough, right? It's enough to make a difference. ZBCN, again, let's see, 338. Let's see where we're at. 338. Trying to reclaim the spider line, right? Trying to reclaim the spider line. We're sitting literally right here. So, let's see. Let's see what happens, y'all. I mean, for me personally, we could see some upside, but ultimately probably to roll over because we're under the spider line right now, under the spider line. We could roll back over, come down to the spider line again, and possibly even fall through with this lunar eclipse coming down to the 886 here on the retrace at 0.00191, maybe even see a wick here to 0.00171. So, all these things are not out of the realm of possibility, especially when lunar eclipses are involved. And what do we know? We've seen an exaggerated move to the upside. You know, got our weekly double top here. Um, around 0.00711. Cool. Now we're in correction mode. Now we're in correction mode, which is perfectly fine. And it makes perfect sense too because we also don't have all the attention on ZBCN because the whole market was very stale when Zbeck had all this attention. So makes perfect sense to me. We're going to cover Secret Network. Secret Network in a similar situation, obviously on the weekly chart. But the MAs are flattening out, so we could see a nice clean 1x. Potentially maybe even a little more. You know, we got heavy resistance right here at about 37.67. Heavy resistance, but we could also wick to 43. No problem, and then come back down. Look, see how beautiful and everything coincides. Look, it would just come back down right here to about where it's at price range right now. You know, roughly. Roughly. If it played out just like the last lunar eclipse, and then it would just build more support in this range. And add more validity to the situation. So be smart, guys. Be smart. Don't let the market play you. Play the market. Pirate Chain, obviously my favorite. My favorite. We're in a little bit better of a situation. A little bit, just behind Dia because Dia's already above the 21, right? Finally been able to break above the spider line right here. So that's really good. Creeping up on this other spider line, but ultimately at the end of the day, if we get a close here, we're going to have that 21 and 8-day cross here, which will be really bullish. We could potentially see Pirate Chain come up to around this 19-cent level. could go even higher, of course, but I would we have a lot of resistance right here. So even breaking here would be good. And what I love about the Pirate Chain community, it's a lot more mature. So they know what they hold, and they're not like prone to crazy, crazy like downs when the rest of the market's going down. So, that I love to see that. I love to see that. You still got our Bollinger Bands tightening too here. So, yeah, Pirate Chain to me looking good. We got a lot of work to do to break this range here at around 15, 16 cents to 19 cents. We got to put in a lot of work, but I know we can do it. Why? Because we are pirates. Arr. And Darrow's looking good on the weekly. We already above the 21, just like Darrow. On the weekly chart, we're going to get an 8 and 21 cross after this weekly close, as long as we, close in this range where we're at now and don't see like a crazy exaggerated move to the downside. We do have our Bollinger Bands expanding. That's also good news. For Darrow, realistically, 78 all the way maybe to the spider line, 90, maybe even $1.08, I would love to see $1.08, but I'm not banking on it. But I think I can totally count on 78, 80 cents in that range. So yeah, I'm ultra bullish on that for now because everything has a season, guys. The 3-day chart not really looking so hot. We actually got a red dot on a 3-day, which is fine. It's a 3-day chart. Doesn't have to stay that way. Obviously, you see we had a nice, nasty red candle here on a 3-day, and then, we continue to move up. So, can't just go straight up. That's really the lesson here. Velo, though. Velo is looking ultra bullish. In fact, it looks really good from a chart perspective because we're already above the 200 for Velo, which a lot of projects we are not. Um, Velo, I mean, realistically, we could come up here. You know, it wouldn't surprise me to come up to 3.3 pennies. Could we crack it? We could. We could. We could. We totally could. But I'd realistically be looking right here. Why? Because we have resistance here. If you look left, we got some resistance. Can we break it? Sure, but the next fib level would be 8.8 pennies. Could that happen? Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? You know, in fact, even if it did and it came back down here to, um, you know, tap this range here in this market structure as support and just build some support here and, you know, load that next move, I would be a fan of that. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Realistic price target here, 3.3 pennies, you know. So yeah, that's what I pretty much got for Velo. Um, Also, you know, do want to cover XRP because a lot of people love XRP. Um, you know, and it's you know one of the only altcoins that's broken into a new all-time high. So let's get to it, guys. You know, currently on a 3-day chart, we're looking good. New all-time high, perfect. We haven't got a red dot come in on a 3-day yet, which is really good. But let's look at a weekly perspective. Weekly perspective, we're still cooking with gas. We don't even have a red dot yet. So, you know, let's just do a local fib here to see where some of our local fib targets could come in from this last high to this. You know, 525 could happen before. It could totally happen before. But let's look at where we are right now because here's the most important thing. We're actually above the 886. Okay, we can close here above 334 this week. That is going to be extremely bullish, and our first target should be about $4.08. Next target is going to be 454, and then the last target before a nice nasty correction is going to be 526, 525, right? Now, what do we see? A 60% move down? Well, 50 to 60%, 52%, which remember, this is a larger cap, so it doesn't have to do a 50% correction. In fact, it might do lower. But to come back and test this market structure as support would be ultra bullish in the long term and the macro perspective. So it wouldn't be surprising to me. So yeah, guys, I think that's all I really have for today. I will be keeping you all posted now that we got some, you know, more market action. I don't make as many videos as I used to, but I'm still here. I'm still here. Um, you know, this is gonna be a big move, so I want to cover it for you guys, and you know, and actually, you know what? Let's talk about dominance too. Let's actually talk about dominance because this is going to be highly, highly important. You know, from a weekly perspective, we haven't tapped the 50 yet. Back here in our last little halfway alt season, right? We did break through the fit. We wicked through the 50. We're not there yet. Okay, cool. But more importantly is what I want to do is take you back in time where we broke the 50 and then we started to have the 8 and the 21 cross through the 52, which created all this momentum. And we had our real altcoin season right here. And Bitcoin was putting in all-time highs, you know? Let's see how we're cooking here. Now, look, this is going to take some time to play out, but my lord, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. We get an 8 and 21 cross on this weekly on the dominance. Well, we are definitely going to be looking so much better because guess what? We did not actually see the 8 and 21 cross to the downside right here. It just moved parallel and then moved its way back up. So please keep all this in mind. So once we start to see this market react differently than right here on the Bitcoin dominance, then we can really start to get excited. And, we also have a weekly red dot that came in last week for our Bitcoin dominance. So that's really good, guys. That's really good. We are moving in the right direction, but are we completely out of the woods and on our way to alt season? Can't say that quite yet. Can't say it quite yet. But we could be looking in a better direction. So, with that being said, guys, much love, many blessings, and be well and be free.